at a time, like 100 reef balls, right? You've seen those domes, with all the holes. So they stay put. Army tanks stay put. Because the heavy gauge, they don't like move all around, So we're looking for things that are going to stay put, not migrate on their own. We're going to look for material that's going to last 50, 75, 150 years. Tanks down. One of my favorite spots on Seagirt is this like group of small little tanks, and the engine cover will flop open. And I did an ROV dive on this, and I'm looking into it, and there's a tog taking up the entire engine bay.
Oh God!
Yeah, these things are insane.
Yeah, so I was talking to Yellow Dog Paddle the other day, like you were saying with the fall patterns. He's still getting into hybrid striped bass. Also, still, he's trolling Round Valley again. The trout fishing seems to be good. He's going to be fishing in the Veterans Tournament, too, with us. So if you're looking to do a trout trolling trip or a hybrid striped bass trip, it's a good time to call Yellow Dog Paddle. Hello and welcome to episode number 70 of the NJ Multispecies Podcast. I am your host, Joe Santiago, and as always, my partner, Chris Pereira.
I'm here.
Both back from vacation with our brand new lip glue hats. We did go to the same place on vacation, but at different times and not together in any way, shape, or form at all.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's your fault the way you said it. Like, people are texting me like we're on vacation together. Like, They thought they literally had visions of us sitting in a hot tub together, like drinking martinis or something.
I've had that vision myself. Nothing wrong with a vision. It is what it is. Nah, but yeah, the 2-week vacation was nice. Max and Kevin tried their best. It seems they crapped out. Kevin seemed to fake monkeypox or some other fake illness to avoid the second episode.
Yeah, what exactly happened there?
I don't know. I've watched the first one. I didn't watch the second one yet.
Why did it seem to be that it felt like we were forcing them to do this? I thought they wanted to do this.
Kevin was okay with it going in. Max was a basket case making cue cards and teleprompter screens and taking notes.
I invited him out. Chuck told me to bring. He said, "Hey, bring someone fishing that hasn't come yet. Like, he likes to meet new people." He's like, "Who can come? That's new. That would want to come." Like, Jen Wong couldn't make it. You couldn't make it because you were on vacation. And I invited Max come out fishing with Chuck Manny, and he turned it down because he had to study his cue cards for the episode.
It's crazy. Yeah, it really is. And in all honesty, this is episode 70. Me and Chris have never prepared for anything. We sit down, Deuce counts to 10, and he starts recording. We've never even pre-talked for an episode before. No, and Max is taking days. Whatever it may be, they got through the 2 weeks. They did the best they could. Kevin, great job. Max, I haven't heard from him. He seemed to have some sort of meltdown. He got in a fight with Deuce. Deuce fired him now. He's yelling at me, telling him he's fired. So we're going to have to talk to Max, find out what's going on.
Dude, Deuce is like old school Trump on that show. He just fires people. He's like, well, you've had enough. You're fired.
Yeah, you're fired. So Deuce fired Max from somewhere he doesn't even really work.
I got to check out the second episode though. They brought in Luke the Puke.
Yeah, they brought in Pukey Luke second episode. I think Kevin. Luke actually did a really good job. That's probably what set Max off. But yeah, that's over. Me and Chris are back now for the duration. A lot of stuff over the 2 weeks. I did the multi-species challenge with Chuck Manny, trying to break the boat record. Chris, I know you've done that with him once
before. You were trying to break the record that me, him, and Alex set a week earlier.
Yes, and it was me, Jen, and Chuck, and the weather wasn't good, and Chuck wasn't able to get sandworms, and it didn't look good at all to have any shot at the 13, but we actually did get to the 13. And then the craziest thing ever, Chuck, he was just we had reeled in like 40 or 50 like spot and croaker, trying to get the 1 week fish and the oyster cracker.
Yeah.
Chuck's just reeling in a fish, and all of a sudden I look down and there's like this 11-inch weak fish just sitting next to the boat, and it's number 14. It's like getting dark, and it's right there, and Chuck's like, grab the net, and I like go grab the net, turn around, and Chuck's, it's gone. He's screaming.
I mean,
we lost it. It didn't come up. We lost it. We left with 13. We didn't get the striper. He's going to kill me for saying this if he watches the episode.
Really?
He didn't want me to I was talking about this on the way in, and he didn't even want to talk about it. First time I've ever been on the time in and not seen a striper come in. So the striper could have been number 14.
Wow.
The weak fish could have been number 14.
Did you guys get a skate at least?
We did not get a skate. That's what I'm saying. Like, if we would have caught some of those, we could have got up.
Dude, he's the worst skate fisherman that I've ever met in my life.
Well, his boat's always flying around somewhere. You got to stay still for skates. But I just have to say, and I know we can't waste too much time on it, that was this multi-species fishing thing. Like, if you weren't there or haven't done this was insane. This guy... He got on the boat with like every bait you could imagine. He started out in the river fishing for like weak fish and croaker and spot. And then the next thing you know, you're 18 miles offshore shark fishing, reeling in hammerheads. Then you're running back into the rocks to fish for porgies. Then he fluke fished. He took out 2 fluke rods. He's like, we're going to do 100-yard drift. Jen reeled up a keeper fluke within 40 seconds. First drift. And then when we finally got back into the river with 12, and nobody had the oyster cracker. And all of a sudden Jen Wong reels in an oyster cracker. And I'm telling you, if you ever seen 3 grown men screaming at the top of their lungs holding up an 11-inch oyster cracker like it was a record fish, like we were going crazy over this shit.
Dude, I saw the exact same thing. That was our 13th fish, was the oyster cracker, and we're catching nothing but spots and croakers, and Alex swings in an oyster cracker this big, and we freak out. I start jumping around the boat like a monkey. We're like fist bumping. He's wooing like he caught a state record striper. Like people are going by in their recreational boats looking at us like we're freaking idiots. And we had the same reaction when I caught a skate. I caught a skate and a sea robin on a high-low rig.
He told me about that. You got a double multi-species.
And we're out there, dude. We're out there fishing, fluke fishing, basically. In the middle of a fluke tournament. There was a fluke tournament. Everyone was fishing there for a fluke tournament. We swing in a friggin' skate and a sea robin and start going ballistic. Anyone there who couldn't see it was just a skate is thinking we just caught the winning fish for this fluke tournament. And then we drove away like we were going away.
Crazy. And the way Chuck explained it is, if you talk to most anglers, everyone's going to tell you, yeah, I've caught a sea bass. Yeah, I've caught a skate. Yeah, I've caught a sand shark. Yeah, I've caught a weak fish. Try to go actually catch these fish. Like, you've caught sea robin a million of all of us have caught hundreds of sea robins on accident. Go to try to actually catch a sea robin. It's not that easy to do it.
Right. And, I don't think too many people want to spend the gas money and the bait money for all those different things in one shot, especially since you can't eat a lot of it. But let me tell you, Chuck's willing to do it, obviously, and I think it's freaking awesome. I mean,
it was like every kind of fishing that I've ever done is fishing. It's like kind of the same. This was like another experience. Like it was, it's just that it was crazy. It was awesome. We're doing it again. I think we have 2 dates coming up that we're going to get 2 shots to try to break the 13 again. I'm
kind of bummed because that's the same, that last weekend chance that he gave us is the same weekend of the new catfish contest. So I'm fishing with Dave, and
we're gonna break the record without you.
You probably will. And look, I'd be willing to do it. I don't need to sleep, but there's no way. If it was a normal, like I have to be there by like 6. I got to meet him at 6 on Saturday, and then I could tell.
Last time we went, we didn't launch till 11 because he had to wait for the sandworm delivery, so he couldn't launch early.
If he doesn't go, I'll go with no sleep. I don't need to sleep. That's not the issue.
It would be cool if you went and won. If you and Dave Aw and Fast Eddie went and won the catfish tournament and we broke Chuck's record, that'd be awesome.
Dude, I mean,
on the same weekend, and
I'm good without the sleep. It's just like that contest doesn't end till 8 a.m. Sunday morning.
Yeah, and
if he's able to wait to launch, I'll shoot down there. Or even if he wants to come, if he wants to plan it in a way where he comes into a spot where he could pick me up to catch some species in a dock somewhere, I'll do it.
We're going to break it Saturday anyway, so you'll be going for a higher number Sunday. So there you go. Look, Chris can't go. Open spot on Chuck Manny's boat, possibly. You could replace Chris.
Wait, you're saying you're going that Saturday and that Sunday?
Didn't he say 7 and 8 or something? He said 2 days.
He said the 2 days, yeah. Unfortunately, I either have to be done in time to meet Dave at 6 on Saturday evening, or I can't start till Sunday after I leave the contest at 8 a.m. Now, if the river gets blown out again and the contest gets canceled or moved again, then I'm 100% in, obviously.
There you go. Other fishing. For the first time ever, I went with Jerry Zagorski on the Obsession out to the lobster pots. I've never done that before. I went pot hopping with Jerry. Jerry's friend Rich came and Jen Wong. Basically throwing lures at the lobster pots for the little chicken mahi. It was fun as hell. Yeah. We caught 29 fish in the cooler. I got to see one giant one swim by. Jerry said we're going to go back out again because he knows where there's some bigger ones. But I will tell you this. I cooked them. Also, there's videos online. I posted a video all about the lobster pots and how we did it. You could find that on njfishing.com or on our YouTube channel.
And you got some cool underwater shots. And I don't know if everyone realizes those fish will never be as gorgeous as they are when they're swimming in the water and while you're fighting them under. Did you get any shots like fighting them underwater or no?
I didn't.
They like change colors while you're fighting them. The next time, try to get a video of that under the water while they're fighting. They actually change colors. That'd look cool as hell. And then once you bring them in the boat, they very quickly lose that like vibrant color.
Oh, real fast.
Yeah.
But this one, I was holding one in my hands, and like the way when the sun hit it at a certain angle, it has these unbelievable blue spots that are like more vibrant than even a brook trout. They're just blue. They're beautiful fish. But as I was saying, me and my wife had them for dinner last night. They are up there with one of the best fish I've ever eaten. We fried them, made fish tacos with them. Unbelievable how good they were. There's also no size limit on them. So I guess there's, apparently from what Jerry told me, they only live 5 years and they grow really fast. So like it's a fish that needs like a lot of culling.
But Obviously, it'd be awesome to catch a giant one. It'd look awesome in a picture or whatnot. But I think unless the fish died during the fight, I think I'd release a bigger one. Those little ones are delicious.
But me and Jerry saw one on the last pot of the day. It was getting kind of late, and he was like, all right, this is the last pot. And we hadn't seen, they were all pretty much cookie cutter size, the same, like within the same 4-inch range all day of each other, maybe like, I don't know, 14 to 17 inches, somewhere in there. We saw a giant one. It had to be like over 30 something inches long, just cruising at the top of the wave, full sail, fins out, and you could see the yellow and the blue, and I was just like, holy shit. And actually my GoPro was on at the time, but for like it was too far in the glare on the water. Because the polarized sunglasses really, like, they tremendously help with this mahi fishing on the pots. But the lens of the camera doesn't have a polarized lens, so I can't see it. But yeah, really cool experience. So thank you to Jerry for inviting me. It was awesome. Hopefully we get to go again. And Chris, hopefully you get to come.
Oh yeah, I'd definitely be in if I don't already have fishing. Basically, I've been having to turn down fishing plans because I already have other fishing plans.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
I haven't even been able. Talk about first world problem.
No one thinks we have jobs, but we actually do. So we do have to go to work.
I mean, technically, I haven't worked in a couple of weeks because I work in a school and it's out. But I've been.
Tonight's guest is Peter Clark, who works for the state's. What are they called? The Reef Restoration Program, right?
No, I think. No, it's just the Artificial Reef Program.
Yeah. And he works for like a million other things. But we did so much fishing in the 2 weeks off. We're trying to squeeze it in as fast as we can. Chris, you caught some unbelievable sheep's head.
Yeah, man, I finally I've been trying ever since we had him on the show early on. It was a pretty cool episode. If anyone wanted to check that out. We don't ever remove any episodes, so you can always go back and look. And obviously, some of the fishing reports may be out of date or whatever, but they may also work out if you watch it in the same month the year before. But anyway, Scotty Sevens, what I consider, I mean, he's a master sheep's head fisherman as far as I'm concerned. He may not, admit it, but that's like his bread and butter. And him and I have been, friends on social media and whatnot for a while now, just kind of admiring each other's fish and stuff. And he came on the show last year, and I've been trying to fish with him since then for sheep's head because I've never caught one, and didn't work out last year. This year, finally, I was able to get out with him. Out of Ocean City, where he's a pay for hire, fish for hire, whatever you call, and got out there with him. And let me tell you, like it's not exactly like any other fishing I've ever done. And I'm not going to give away any of his secrets or anything, but if you want his secrets, go fishing with him. These captains can't hide their secrets from you if you go fishing with them. But I mean, we're fishing tight to these pilings and stuff. And this fish, I've heard guys, I think Max said once that it's just the same as tog. It's not. These fish, I mean, I'm using a light jig. I got the crab on there, and he literally said, if that thing needs to be like touching the piling, if it gets pushed out from the piling, that's it. Do it again. And you're sitting there fishing like super tight to these pilings. And when this fish hit, I mean, they must have stole 3 dozen crabs from me. Like, you feel this little tap. It's even worse than a tog. Like a tog will steal your bait sometimes, but you'll feel it happening. These fish, a lot of the times, I'm telling you, dude, and I'm using super sensitive trevally rod. I can feel everything, and as I'm dropping it down, I'll just feel this little tiny tick, like almost like I tapped something on the way down, and that's it. The crab's gone.
That's crazy.
Like you're fishing. You're like, I haven't felt anything in a while. My jig feels kind of light. Bring it up, it's gone. And so, like, there was a little bit of a learning curve, but I was able to. And it was a tough day. He even said he's like, they were biting real, even tougher than usual. And but I was able to get my first sheep's head and 3 more. 3 of them were real nice size. One of them was a little bit smaller. But dude, the fight on these fish, like, I think some guys consider these like a trash fish, and they're not even regulated here in New Jersey, which. And you'll never hear me say this about most things, put any kind of power in the government's hand, but they're not regulated at all. And guys are taking advantage of it and like keeping all these, and they're an awesome fish. I mean,
they look
I didn't keep any to eat, but supposedly they taste good, and
I want to catch one.
They fight.
Can you guide me to one now?
I mean, after going with him, I feel like if we rented a boat down there or something, as long as you could get like your kayak or a small boat, like real tight to the pilings. I mean, like most guys who have a saltwater boat are not going to let you fish the way that needs to be fished, because you're going to ding up their boat on the pilings and stuff, or it's just too big to do it. Like you need a smaller boat. I've seen guys do it on a kayak and stuff, but you got to be. These things are right tight to these pilings.
Sounds awesome.
And they fight, dude. They fight. They're comparable to Tog. I'm not even joking. They like inch for inch. They're. I'd say they're probably stronger than Tog. They have a different like body shape. Pound for pound, they're comparable, but maybe not quite as strong. And it's different. Like you're fishing for Tog all the time in deeper water with heavier gear. But I mean, these fish really dig in. I mean, the fight's awesome. It's an awesome fish.
I gotta catch a sheep. I gotta go catch that one. I saw Matt Loisel caught one down wherever he is. It's gigantic.
Yeah, I think one of the Carolinas
or Virginia. He might be. Chuck caught a gigantic cobia. I think he's down in Virginia.
We got to go fishing for cobia with Chuck, because
dude, he asked me to go. He asked me to go last week. I could have went with him, and I just didn't want to drive 6 hours by myself. I just didn't want to do it.
Oh, because he's staying there, and you would have had to come back.
No, I would have had to drive down there, go fishing with him, and then come back. So it would have been like driving 12 hours alone. I was just like, oh God.
Why don't you see if he'll let you put up a tent in like his backyard over there where he stays?
I'm weird with driving like that. Like I don't drive really long. I never have like probably driven more than like an hour and a half by myself. Like I'd never even done it.
Dude, I'm with you. I don't like to do it either. And
I've never even attempted to do it.
The first time I did it was 2 winters ago, when we only had like a week of ice fishing here in New Jersey, and our buddy Nick, upstate New York, they had decent ice. Even they didn't have great ice, but they had some options. And I wanted to ice fish so bad, and like nobody could go this one time, and I just fucking did. I drove through like snow and blizzards and shit, 5.5 hours upstate New York. That was the first time I did it. It wasn't as bad as I imagined in my head. I will say that, because in my head, it's probably like what you're thinking. Like you're gonna be so bored, just like staring out the window, driving with the music on, that you're just gonna fall asleep and smash into a tree and die.
Probably, yeah, that's a possibility with me, no doubt. If I'm alone, I also, before our guest is almost ready to come in, I have to give a shout out. I fished the Open Buddy contest on Lake Pacon with the Top Water Bassers. I fished with John Dorn. We came in second place. We won $841. The contest was run by his cousin, Eddie Kasperzak. did a phenomenal job. I have to say that club, the way that they do their tournaments and the cash that you could actually win is crazy. Like when we came in second, I'm figuring like, well, all right, we're gonna get like $50. They've got like almost $900. Like it's crazy the money. So now I've done two of them. I did one on an electric only lake, Merrill Creek, and I did one now on a gas lake. The gas lake was interesting because these boats fly. It was crazy how fast I was almost scared. You're on this like flat platform boat that's just as soon as the guy like calls your number, they're rocketing out. And then John Dorn, Chris, you've been fishing with him like for fun, but when this guy fishes like in something like this, like he stands up to the rail and he doesn't leave till the tournament ends. Like he'll keep throwing the same thing.
Really?
He'll just he'll throw the same thing for 6 hours with nothing. And then in 10 minutes, he'll win the tournament.
That is a really strange tactic. That's crazy.
And I've seen him do it twice. He's one of those guys that, like, you know that saying, like, fish like you know they're there? He does that. Like, he fishes confidence, and he just kind of has that thing, like, if I keep doing it, it's going to happen. And the second time, like, we probably caught, like, around 20 fish. We were culling them all day. Like, he had his little scale out all day trying to decide which one to keep, because obviously we won by 1/100th. So it's very important to make sure you keep the exact right fish. But
yeah,
his one lure that he always says, oh, this is my moneymaker. I'm not going to say what lure it is, but this is the bread and butter moneymaker. It's the one I win the most tournaments on. He kept casting it, and in like maybe in the last 2 hours, like within 10 minutes of each other, he boated two really nice fish over 3 pounds. And that changed the whole game. That got us up in the second place. But he doesn't stop. Like, he doesn't change. He knows what works, and he just knows if he keeps throwing it, that eventually it will work. And I was impressed. He doesn't have live scope. He continues to beat the live scope guys. He doesn't even fish Lake Pac on that much, and he went there and just... He's impressive. I'm impressed with him. So congratulations to John Dorn and you bass fishermen that I make fun of so much. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should have a little bit more respect for you. I'll think about it.
Are you just doing this because next month we got the bass guy coming on?
Do we have a bass guy?
Yeah.
Oh.
So what's it? Taylor Stewart?
He's coming. We got him. Outlaw fishing.
I mean, he said he was. I said,
he's our number one hater ever. I
straight up said to him, I'm like, look, dude, I'm tired of talking to people that like us. I'm like, you're the only one here that.
He actually likes me, though. I don't think he likes you. He likes me.
Why didn't he like me?
Maybe he does like you. I don't know. I think he just doesn't like live.
He said he's just busting balls. But
I know he's hilarious. Papa Kane Chanel or whatever it is. It's hilarious.
What?
All right. I don't know. He changed his name to Poppy Kane Chanel or some shit on Facebook. Okay. So that's cool. We finally got him on. He's an FF.
He didn't 100% confirm, but I gave him a date. He said he's gonna see it and make sure that he could do it. And
all right. So we finally have some FFS person. All right, Peter Clark is ready to come in. Are you have anything else to talk about, or
no? Not really. Just that if anyone hasn't been out fishing, just generally speaking, the last week, I will tell you that I wasn't fishing locally. I'm fishing down Wildwood last week. When I came back, I just went out fishing today. I almost didn't make it back for this podcast, and I will tell you, even though the air temperature during the day is similar and you're still in August and you may not think about it, I'm telling you right now, a lot of the fishing is already changing. My like late summer tactics, whatever you want to call it, nothing was not working. Everything had changed. That 1 week period from last week, I literally went out with Chuck Friday, left Saturday morning for Wildwood, came back this weekend Saturday, went out fishing today Monday, and everything had changed.
No, it definitely
the bait
has
wasn't
changed.
in the same spots anymore. The fish weren't feeding the same way anymore. Everything had changed. Everything. It's like that transition is already starting to happen. So if
Chris
you haven't
Lido,
been out,
Chris Lido texted me today before I forget. He's getting out the tuna gear. The Gambler's getting ready to start making canyon trips. So if you're looking for a canyon trip this early fall, call the Gambler because they're booking them now. But yeah, you're right. It did. It's gotten colder at night.
yeah, I think that's the main reason is those cold nights. The water temperature on the surface is definitely dropping.
I can't totally confirm it, but I've already got a couple joking text messages about running up to Salmon River because there's people talking about there being some fish in there. I'm sure it's nothing worth driving up there for. But yeah, there's definitely some weird fall shit going on kind of early. And we're just about getting ready to kick off the hunting season. So it's going to be time to start putting up tree stands and putting out trail cameras and all kinds of fall shit. Tog season's coming. But yeah, we're going to go to Peter Clark, the guest, and then next week we'll be live from the Fishmonger with Captain Jerry Pastorino. Chris, you ready to bring in Mr. Peter Clark?
Yeah, we should be good to go.
Okay. Eddie Mackin continues to do very well on hybrids on Lake Apacon. Also, just sent me some pictures of some kids with some big hybrids from the pontoon boat. Pontoon trip still available with him. He's actually in Maine right now, brook trout fishing. I think he's bear hunting, but he's currently brook trout fishing. But yeah, Eddie Mackin's still doing trips. Said he actually just last week switched over from the herring to the chicken liver. So he's on a chicken liver bite already.
Really?
Yeah. So Mackin's already fishing livers. So that's very easy for kids, and it also gives kids a really good opportunity at big fish because it's just pretty much bait and weight. So call Eddie Mackin today if you're trying to put your kids on a big hybrid striped bass on Lake Apacon. All right, so our next guest is ready. We have Peter Clark from NJ Fish and Wildlife. He is the head of the Artificial Reef Program. Peter, welcome to the NJ Multi-Species Podcast. So is he all right?
I'm great. Yeah.
I thought you vanished off my screen for a second. You're back.
Oh, really?
No, he's there.
You're there.
I see him.
How are you, Peter?
I'm well, thanks.
He's good to go. He was just waiting for you to screw up his introduction.
I didn't.
No, you didn't. But there's a lot more to it. But we're going to let him introduce himself with all the details so that Joe doesn't screw it up. So go ahead. Other than leading the Artificial Reef Program,
yeah.
What else?
So I work for the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. That's a mouthful. Within the department, we've got the Division of Fish and Wildlife, Bureau of Marine Fisheries, and I run the Artificial Reef Program. I also run the Commercial Fisheries Unit as well as Recreational Fisheries Management for summer flounder, black sea bass, and scup. I'm involved with lobster management, tautog management. Essentially, think of it as anything that's structure dependent, reef dependent, reef centric items that have commercial and recreational value in the state of New Jersey.
And you have a big part in making the regulations for both commercial and recreation, or just commercial? Or?
Yeah, well, both. Recreationally, so for like striped bass, I'm not involved. For summer flounder, black sea bass, and scup, I am. Those are my species that I handle regulatory action on for on the recreational side of things. So what I do is I I mold options. We get a target number of fish that we can harvest a year, and I take that target and I mold. I think I was up to 70 plus options when we started this past go around for 24 and 25 for summer flounder and scup as it is. So we whittle those down through our Fisheries Management Council and advisor meetings. I think we did 6 advisory committee meetings before it went in front of the full council. For you guys probably saw it when they voted on, when we have 5 options on the table.
Yeah,
they voted for the current.
Yeah, we actually we had I know you know Jerry Zagorski. We had him come on, and we actually did an episode talking about the fluke regulations and stuff, and and basically it's the obvious. You're never going to make everyone happy, but you try to find some middle ground, and I think that's what happened this year. I mean, there was 2 options that were kind of split between most anglers, I feel like, and they picked one of them.
Right. Yeah. So the way that I approach this, and I'll start looking at it in November is when I'll start taking my first crack at some. Well, I guess it won't be this November because we're in a 2-year cycle right now, but come November 25, I'll take some swings and options, and really what I'll do is I'll think of anything under the sun, different slots, for instance, or we had, I thought it was pretty cool. We had a shore mode that I thought was interesting. We took the 2 fish slot, moved it to a 1 fish slot, different start and end date. So you get, there's 3 things, there's 3 variables that provide, movement on a regulation, that being start and end date, so the season length, the size of the fish, and then the bag of the fish. And so, there's a myriad of combinations, and so I present them to advisors. Advisors give me feedback on start dates too early or too late, and same with the end date. And then we mold them into something that makes some semblance of sense, and then bring it forward to another advisory committee meeting, then eventually to the full Marine Fisheries Council. So a lot of feedback. I mean, it's a November through April is the busiest time of the year for me as far as a fisheries biologist goes.
I notice you mentioned scup a lot. We call them porgies. That's a number that for the past few years, that bag limit continues to just come down and down and down. Yeah. Is that a fish that you guys are continuously seeing a huge drop in numbers?
No, I mean, that's one of the issues that we're having, quite frankly, with not so much summer flounder, but with sea bass and scup or porgy, is that specifically, I can speak pretty fluently towards sea bass right now because we just went through specification setting period. Scup, I'm not quite familiar. I know we're over the target biomass, but I know, like for sea bass, for instance, where 219% of our target biomass, we continually take these cuts. They're nonsensical, if you ask me. They don't make any sense whatsoever that we should be taking a reduction in black sea bass. Recruitment is up. Biomass target or the biomass is 219% over our target. I mean, the trajectory is still increasing. Everything is in a positive trend for sea bass, yet we are, right now looking at a reduction for this coming year. Right. So,
yeah, I mean, and I could say, and I guess Chris would back me up. The sea bass fishing is some of the best it's been ever. I mean, for us,
ever.
It's phenomenal. It's
insane.
Same basically with the striper fishery, and I know you said you're not involved in that, but that they continue to tighten down on that too. Why would they want to tighten down on sea bass?
Well, so we're charged with following what's called Magnuson-Stevens Act, and that's a federal act. And what that says, I'm sorry, let me turn that volume. What that says is that if right now if we're in this prescribed, it's called the recreational demand model using a percent change approach. I don't want to get into all that yet, because I would like to talk about reefs at some point. But the way that it works is if your harvest surpasses a target, if your recreational harvest surpasses a target, you're required to take a reduction. It goes through a formula, in a decision table and things like that. Regardless, I think, we're at a point right now with sea bass where it just doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of uncertainty behind some of the modeling that has me concerned. Like I said, the trends are absolutely astronomical. If you had 219% of anything and you were trying to, let's say you had too much money and the goal was to bring it from $200 or $300 down to $100. Well, the only way to do that is to spend the money, right? But somebody's telling you, nope, we're going to get you. You're going to lose money by us not spending it. Doesn't make any sense.
That's a pretty good way to put it.
The only way you're going to have less fish is if you harvest more fish, right?
Right.
You're not going to have less if you harvest less. That's what I'm trying to.
What does it actually mean when you say 219% biomass?
So you've got a target there's target levels of all fish, whether it's striped bass, summer flounder, scup, black sea bass, right? So it's a level of biomass that can, everything being equal. So if you harvest X amount, it'll stay at this level. It'll allow reproduction and recruitment year after year after year at this target. Doesn't impact other species. We are 219%, so way over that target. It means we have a lot of black sea bass, and the solution coming through Magnuson-Stevens via the SSC, which is the Science and Statistical Committee, is telling us that if we decrease our harvest, we'll get to that target. Thank God you're making that face, because I made that face for days. We wrote a memo. There was a multi-state memo that went to the ASMFC and the Mid-Atlantic Fisheries Management Council saying this is impossible. You guys have been underestimating. This is a trend that's been going on for about, I want to say, 9 years now. So every year they say, this is where our target keeps going through the roof, or I'm sorry, our biomass level is like it looks like Mount Everest, right? And they're saying, well, we predict it's going to be down here, and then it's
but they have no proper reasoning for that, and then it ends up not happening, right? And then nothing changes for the better on our end.
Well, right. So here's the rub, right? So you've got, what adds fish to a population? It's adults spawning and eggs, surviving, and then larvae surviving the first winter.
Yeah.
That's recruitment, right? So we had the first big blast of recruitment we saw was in 2011. Then we saw another one, and I'm talking about stratospheric levels, like levels that we've never seen in recorded history of black sea bass. Then we saw it again in 2015. Well, it kind of makes sense, right? Because if you have a ton of fish that are now 4 or 5 years old spawning, the next, when they're adults and spawning, the next recruitment's going to be out. It's going to be enormous, right?
Yeah.
That happened in 2011 and 2015. Happened again in 21 and 22. So you've got all these adults, biblical amounts of sea bass. They're like locusts right now, spawning. at levels that we haven't seen before. And we've got to cut harvest to get it down. We're going to cut harvest to get our biomass decreased. It's totally counterintuitive. Makes absolutely. I think really the rub, if you asked me if I had to choose or try to figure out what the problem was, the problem is that we as managers, and I'm throwing, I think this is a federal problem, to be quite honest with you, because the state's not involved with making this decision. I think you heard me say if we did, we wouldn't be taking a cut this year. Hopefully we can finagle some things and we won't have to. But federally speaking, they don't know how to deal with a stock that's this high, right? Federally, we're talking cod, crashed. I mean, winter flounder crashed. Groundfish species crashed. Everything's low. Everything's like in turmoil, low. So they have models that work for that, work at low levels of biomass. This is the polar opposite. And frankly, I don't think they're quite sure how to handle something that has this high of a biomass.
It just seems like typical government. I mean, where it's like whatever makes the least sense, that's what seems to happen for some reason. when you get too many, like, I don't know, too many chefs in the kitchen, maybe, and it's just like, or they don't really care as much because, like you said, it's not happening at a state level. It's happening at a federal level. They don't have any skin in the game.
Well, do you have to?
The positive here is that folks like me in New Jersey and New York and Connecticut and Maryland and probably some other states that haven't spoken up yet at the management boards we've recognized this year after year after year after year. And it's gotten to a point where we've finally been able to, everybody's a picture person, right? So we're finally able to, the woman up in New York put a figure together that showed really exemplified how we keep making the same mistake now for 8 or 9 years. I'm hoping that it definitely hasn't fallen on deaf ears. Now we're trying to figure out how to deal with it, right? It's like, so we've like pushed the boulder off of the the peak of the mountain, and we're like, well, how do we stop it now before it hits the hamlet down at the bottom in the valley, like, because we know it's going to happen, it's inevitable. And that's sort of the difficult part of all of this is we know it's wrong. We know that the ramifications are loss of revenue from all of your for-hire captains, loss of revenue for all of your bait and tackle shops, your diners, your gas stations, your hotels, your, on and on and on and on and on. Yeah. And it's for no reason. If we were talking about fluke, I mean, I'm not the best fluke fisherman, but I can catch some fish. I mean, there's just it's not like sea bass. Jesus, you go fishing for anything and you catch sea bass,
Yeah,
you have to factor in other species too, though, as well, right? Like, obviously, as the striper fishing explodes and gets better and better, you guys know the stripers are now eating the sea bass. You factor that in.
Yes. Our target factors natural mortality, which includes that. It also includes old age, but our goal is to harvest those fish before they become old and die, right? It's a resource at the end of the day. A dead fish is better off, in my opinion, in a cooler or on a table somewhere than, just on the bottom as crab bait. That's going to happen anyway. So it's this line, you're constantly bouncing around trying to find out where that is. So, but anyway.
I know we kind of started off away from the reef program that we'll jump back into, obviously, but like you wear so many hats, it's just impossible not talk about all this stuff. And I just wanted to throw out there for anyone that doesn't know, Peter he doesn't just work for the state, helping with these regulations and stuff. He's actually an angler. He's a charter captain. He's, one of us, you could say, and you're on our side, really. And I know a lot of people, when they hear like, oh, the guy works for the state, do this, that, and the other thing, they immediately kind of jump to that you don't have the best interest of the recreational anglers in mind, but that's not the case. I want to make sure everyone understands that. Like, you're actually a charter boat captain. What's the name of your boat? Mad Hatter?
Yeah, the Mad Hatter.
Mad Hatter.
Like, he's out there doing what we do, doing what other captains do. He's like, this is part of his livelihood too. He's one of us, and he's there, helping make these regulations, trying to get the common sense solutions here, which would seem like, in the case of sea bass,
impossible.
It seems like, basically, to wrap it all up, what the regulations are working very well, and they don't need to be changed, especially not for
liberalize, quite frankly, Chris. I think we're too restrictive right now. I think,
if anything, they should be less restrictive, but definitely not the other way. It just makes less than zero sense.
You don't, by any chance, have any involvement in the shark fishing, do you? Like the brown sharks and
no, that doesn't fall into my purview.
Weak fish.
Nope.
He literally listed the fish that he had. You forgot him already?
No, but we're gonna. Yeah, he does talk too. No, I know which ones he does. He said his jobs and basically described everything.
I mean, I justify a lot of the species that I deal with because they fall onto the reef, right? So like, if it's on the reef, I deal with it pretty much.
Right. All right. So like, let's talk a little about reef before we take up all of his time, and we haven't even talked about it. So the reef program, what exactly do you do? Or do you manage? You have a big part, I'm assuming, in creating a reef from scratch.
Yeah, I mean so we have 17 reef sites off the coast of New Jersey. If you Google New Jersey artificial reef, it'll come up to the website, and you guys can check it out. Any listeners can check it out.
Yeah, and you can literally see a map of all of them.
And you get what was it, 21, 22? I republished a guide, so I added, what did I add? I added like 1,200, 1,800 more waypoints onto it. Which are deployments. So there's 17 reefs. They go from Sandy Hook all the way down the coast into Delaware Bay. I don't. Where's your viewership? The whole coast, right? So you're talking like Axel Carlson, Seager, Cape May Reef, Wildwood Reef, Atlantic City Reef, Little Egg, Barnegat Light Reef, Garden State North and South Reef, Sandy Hook Reef, the Shark River Reef. Those are all, every reef off the coast of New Jersey I manage. I've got a 10-year permit from the Army Corps of Engineers that allows me to deploy suitable material. It's got to be one of three things. Ready, Joe?
I'm ready.
Metal, concrete, rock, period. That's it. That's all we can do. No wood, no fiberglass, no plastic, no foam. No, just it's got to be one of those three things.
And so how do you get materials for this? Like, so let's say a boat's out of commission, and they would obviously have to clean everything out of the boat that isn't those three materials. And then they like donate it to you, and you can deploy it. And
sometimes, ideally, that's what happens. So yeah, you mentioned the boat, and I've got example of two different ways that this works. So right now I've got a 65-foot tugboat up in Port Reading. One of our contractors that does some towing with us has this tugboat available. It's no longer, it's just going to cost him too much money to repair. So I'm going to pay him, I think we're at like $30,000 right now. He is a tugboat captain. He's got everything ready to go in crew. So what he's going to do is he's going to pull the motor out. It's going to pull all the foam, plastic, anything that's not one of those three material types. He's going to clean this down. I mean, it's going to be, it'll rust when the rain hits, it'll be so clean. In other words, all the oil, all the petroleum, everything will be removed out of this. It'll be a metal shell. Rubber's gone, any fenders, bumpers gone, glass gone. Then we tow it down, put it on a reef site, we sink it. I've got to come up with the $30,000. And I think that's where you were going with this, Chris. How do I do that? Comes one of few different ways. So if he doesn't donate this, if it's, and in this case, he's not donating it, so I got to pay for it. Organizations like the Manasquan River and Marlin Tuna Club stepped up and said, hey, listen, we do a lot of tournaments. They're doing an offshore tournament. I believe it's this week, as a matter of fact. Isn't it the Offshore Open this week for them?
I'm not 100% sure, but it could be, yeah.
So they have Calcuttas, they have tournaments, and they raise all this money, and then that money will go towards this specific project. Fortunately, they're not going to raise $30K, so the other half will come from the sportfishingfund.org. You guys can check that out. That's a 501c3 that the state of New Jersey deals with. They deal with the state of New Jersey exclusively, and they'll do a match at least, if not more, than what a club can put up. So in this case, Manasquan River is going to put up half of it. The Sport Fishing Fund will put up the other half, and then we'll get this thing on the bottom for them.
So basically, you're not typically getting donated metal ships. The state has to somehow come up with money, and this is not it's not tax funded or anything like that.
No.
Like this is funded by donations.
Yes.
So maybe give that website one more time then.
The sportfishingfund.org.
Okay.
Yep.
How long does it take for these things to take to the environment? If you sink that tugboat, how many days before you start seeing life on it? Is it real quick or is it a while?
Yeah, it's 5 minutes.
5 minutes, right?
Yeah. As soon as the bubbles settle, you'll have fish up on it right away.
Really?
Yeah, dude, structure.
If you drop your rod overboard, there's a fish using it already.
So you guys definitely have secret ones, no doubt. You have secret little you have numbers with little sunken ships.
You're accusing him of
okay. There we go. Okay, we'll talk later.
So here's how it works, right? So Manasquan River funds this project. We put out a news release saying they funded it. Here's the location for it. Unfortunately, it's not always exact. It could be off 200 feet. It's just not perfect until things settle and bubbles really confuse the machine. Obviously, you guys know this.
Yeah.
Bottom machine sees all these bubbles, so I might be off by a couple hundred feet. After we try to do an update on our reef guide every couple of years. So once we have a firm number on it, then it'll go into the reef guide and everybody can find it. I mean, Navionics has everything on this. You've seen that app on your phone. It's got everything.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you if you guys go down after a scuba team goes down there and kind of checks it out and see we've got about this number, this species, that species, to see how well it's doing with life. Or I know guys privately do it.
Yeah. So we'll get what the state will do is we do a ventless trap survey. So we're measuring. We'll put a trap, a commercial lobster it's a lobster fish trap, unbaited. We'll put it right on top of the piece and we'll measure over seasonally what's happening, and then of course as it develops. So Joe, 5 minutes, fish will be on it, but it really takes, we call it seasoning the piece. It takes about 5 years typically to season. Now I've seen it happen a lot faster. We dropped the barge down off on Little Egg Inlet, and I have a video of this I show when I do talk. I was at the AC Boat Show. I showed this video. It is sick. I mean, I want to say it was about 11 months, 12, 13 months, something like that. This barge looked like it had been down there for 20 years. It had mussels all over it. It had tog, you know, 8-pound, 10-pound pog all over this thing. I was like, holy mackerel. It was in August during the close season, but I'll tell you what, yeah, I mean, it was lit up already. So it depends. Like, why did that piece? I think that piece got seeded by, there's a barge down there called the Waldorf. It was pretty close to that. And like, you know, if you drop a piece of concrete in the middle of your swimming pool, right? Just for instance, like, you know, stuff will start growing on it if you don't put chlorine on in the pool. But you know how like over time, how like it'll start like spreading out on the bottom?
Yeah.
That's what happens on the reef. So you put a piece of structure down on the bottom, things start to grow on it, and then it spreads out. And I think that's how this got seeded. I think it got seeded off the Waldorf because that frickin' barge, holy smokes, it is like feet of muscles on that thing.
So just basically it landed close enough when they sank it, which obviously is somewhat out of your control as it's sinking.
No, that's totally in our control.
Oh, it does. It goes straight where you put it?
For the most part. I mean,
all right. I thought maybe like the current catches it a little bit, kind of goes off.
I mean, we hold them too, you know. We've got big tugs that have a hawser on this thing. So once it starts to sink and it shifts a little bit, like it'll glide down a little bit, but you know, we're pretty close. Knock on wood. I'm on a wood table. I'm knocking on wood. We haven't sunk one off the reef. We haven't missed our target yet.
That's pretty cool.
What about now? Like, because these, we know that you guys are pretty much artificially implanting them. You know, we never want anything bad to happen, but we know bad things do happen. What happens when a ship goes down, not on purpose, on accident? Do you have to now manage that shipwreck as a reef, or?
No, like, yeah. So that's a good question, Joe. So I said we had 17 reef sites, right? And these things range from like 1.5 square miles an area. Think of like, you know, a rectangle, like that's our site. And we're supposed to intentionally be putting things right inside that box or that boundary. Sometimes things sink on their own. We have nothing to do with it. If they do and they're outside our reef site, we don't manage them at all. So like the one that went off at Point Pleasant, you're probably thinking about that.
Yeah.
I offered to try to help them out. They drag it onto the Axel Carlson, but I think it's too far gone. And then they wanted to recover it and salvage it. So we really didn't have anything to do with that beyond me offering it.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, let me ask you this. So if I let's say I have an old car and an old metal car, and I want to, you know, it's done, it doesn't work anymore. I want to donate just the metal, the shell to sink through. Is that like too small to be worth the time, or? No,
not. It's not too small, but because you know cars are built to be light, right? I mean, they have a frame. If it was a heavy chassis like a 57 Chevy, I'd probably like, let me come check that thing out. But, you know, you're talking about really thin sheet metal. And what happens is inevitably that metal is going to start peeling off. When it starts peeling off, it's going to, you know, float around, fly around the bottom, ends up on the beach. Now we've got a problem, right? We've got, we've got your wife's minivan door up on the beach in the middle of Side Heights during July 4th weekend. And so when we do this, we're looking, and we've done, we've got over 4,400 deployments, and sometimes they include 100 pieces at a time, like 100 reef balls, right? You've seen those like domes, you know, with all the holes. So they stay put. Army tanks stay put. Because the heavy gauge, they don't like move all around, you know. So we're looking for things that are going to stay put, not migrate on their own. We're going to look for, material that's going to last 50, 75, 150 years. Like we have tanks down, you know, one of my favorite spots on Seagirt is this like group of small little tanks. And, you know, like the engine cover will flop open. And I did an ROV dive on this, and I'm looking into it, and if there's a tog taking up the entire engine bay,
Oh God.
Yes, I mean yes. These things are insane.
I don't scuba dive, but it's got to be a friggin' sight to see, to go down there and like swim around these things. And
a lot of people do. A lot.
You guys should put like rubber. You should put rubber coating like around all the sharp edges so the tog can't cut my line off anymore.
No rubber allowed. It's got to be metal, sharp rock, or sharp concrete.
All the edges.
I guess
40 inches, man. Those big 20-pound tog down there. They know what they're doing.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Going back in their little hut.
Oh man,
go in their cave.
Do a whole episode on that. Yeah, I guess where I was going with that question is just is there any other way that people other than donating money? Was there the only thing that came to my mind was an old car, but I don't know if there's anything else that people typically throw out that's big enough and heavy enough and only those three materials.
Yeah, so one of the things that our biggest sticking point right now is, like, I can make reef balls cheap. They're 1,200, 1,500 pounds. The biggest problem that I have, and I get people call me all the time, I've got whatever. I've got 1,000 tons of concrete. Do you want it? Like, yeah. I've got a place here. I live in a wall. I got a place right down the road, Garden State Precast. They've always got stuff that it's, it doesn't meet spec for a job for a construction company or like New Jersey Natural Gas, or they have a whole run of stuff that they're not going to use. So we get these offers for material. The problem is I had no way to get it off the beach without it costing an astronomical amount of money. So if there's a dragger out there who, I've asked friends of mine that drag and they're just not interested in getting involved with it for whatever reason. But, if we had a way to get it onto their boat, then, and get it off the beach, then that's a cheap way to get things done. Like Monty Hawkins down in Maryland, the guy's a freaking dynamo, right? Like every time he fishes, he's like pushing off a bundle of 40 concrete blocks.
It's got to be unbelievable to watch this in person. Like, just to watch a tugboat sink in person's got to be crazy to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's, it's sort of commonplace for me anymore. I think I'm probably up to 80 or so deployments.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. Down there, I'm the guy down in the bottom of this thing, taking out the plugs or opening up valves, or, you're trying to sink it. They don't sink like you think they're going to sink,
I was going to ask that too. Is there any kind of controlled landing? Like, are you saying, all right, I'm hoping this lands on the bottom, or I'm hoping it flips over?
Or... Yeah. I'm A, hoping it lands on the bottom, and B, hoping it does not flip over. Just because when you look at this thing at the wharf and it's floating right side up, you're making cuts. You're opening up the deck so that it has all this interstitial space for animals to go get in. So you want to maintain that. Plus, when it's on its keel on the bottom, divers can go into a shipwreck and utilize it. Like, concrete, obviously. Concrete, we're basically like taking a bulldozer and just shoving it off of a barge. It doesn't matter how it lands. Pile it up, spread it out. We have a couple different tactics for concrete deployments depending on the reef site and what we're trying to accomplish as far as, getting species to utilize it. Obviously fluke are going to be a little less apt to hang out on the top of a 25-foot high pile of concrete, as opposed to we're giving them 4 feet. They'll come up and hang on that 4 feet flat slab of concrete. You can drift through up on, a lot of these reef sites, it's just scattered pieces. It's still high, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet high. And you can drift through them. You do short drifts and you get a little nest of them or whatever, but it's because they're hanging out in these, small little nooks and crannies on the bottom, as opposed to when you're togging, you're let me find that, really high piece so that, A, I can see it. B, I can work edges of it, you know. So it depends on what we're trying to do.
Do you want us to bleep that curse out?
Yeah.
Did he curse?
I told him we curse all the time, and it doesn't matter if he curses or not. But he kind of said like, oh, you know, I'm doing this through this, like I work for the state. I won't curse. We did,
as long as you like bleep it and you put like an emoji head on me or something.
All right, Chris, are we done?
I did tell him we wouldn't keep him too late because he's actually got a tuna charter tomorrow. I'm also going tuna fishing tomorrow.
There you go.
Hopefully we both find some tuna. I haven't even been tuna fishing this year yet.
Peter, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to come on the NJ Multi-Species podcast. Hopefully we get to talk to you again and fish some of those secret wrecks with you.
Is there anything else before we let you go that you wanted to bring up that we didn't talk about? Or
so I'll bring up again, Google New Jersey Artificial Reef Program. Go get your guide, find your favorite reef. You can print that stuff out online. Go check out the sportfishingfund.org. We're always looking for donations. You can put strings attached to it. If, your aunt left you $10,000 and you want to put it to the reef over on Wildwood, and because that's where your summer house was, well, then we'll do a project down there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is an awesome program. We're doing this all with private donations. Like I got a state salary, I got staff that gets salary, but we're not going out and buying stuff. And we are, without a doubt. I mean, Florida's got a lot of reefs, but I think New Jersey's got better reefs. Fishermen utilize them all the time. Think of you go out Manasquan Inlet, you go out any inlet, and it's packed. Seagirt, Axel, Manasquan Inlet Reef. Every inlet's got reefs near it to go fish, and people utilize them. Fish species thrive on these things. Think of it like this, right? New Jersey, the coast off of New Jersey is it's like looking out into the Walmart parking lot when it's empty, which is probably not very often. So, but it's flat. You get what I'm saying? And what we're doing, we've done so much coastal development. There's been so much sedimentation that even a lot of our natural vertical structure, that's what fish need, vertical structure, some structures, that's what we're looking for here, create this vertical structure. We don't have it. New York has it. Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mass, they all have it. Down south, you get natural reefs that occur. We don't really have it. A very small portion of our state has it. So we are providing vertical structure in a marine environment to provide habitat for fish that wouldn't otherwise be there. And by doing so, we're, obviously fishermen are flocking to these areas, but the fish species that are utilizing these things it's astronomical, and I think it's invaluable, right? So it's a resource that the state puts a lot of energy into. Private donors and clubs put a lot of money towards it, and it all benefits, the fishermen, dive community, all these fish species. It's really a pretty cool program. I'm, thrilled. I don't even feel like I go to work when it's a really cool job.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And I hope people understand that, like you just explained, there's zero natural occurrence of this here in New Jersey or close to it. Like you described it as a parking lot. If it wasn't for this program, you wouldn't be able to fish like you fish now. You wouldn't be able to go right out of the inlet and say, oh, I'm going to Sandy Hook Reef and I'm going to catch all these sea bass. It wouldn't happen. Right. Those fish would not be there. They'd just pass through, maybe a couple would stop on like the rock pile at the lighthouses or something. It wouldn't be anything near what we have now. And it wouldn't exist without, donations, or I don't know if people can donate their time and help out make reef balls or whatever too, and anything like that. But it's that important.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe so. Where would the 200 boats that were open, that were out on Shark River Reef during sea bass season, where would they have gone without Shark River Reef? It'd be like,
floating around, fishing a nice sandy bottom. I don't know.
Yeah, aimlessly looking for a sea bass. I mean, I don't know if you guys made it out there during sea bass season. That freaking place held sea bass, millions of sea bass. And yeah, they were at other places. They were, off the reef. But to provide that many boats with an opportunity to go limit out in hours,
Yeah.
It was good.
It's obviously it's providing a service to this environment that wouldn't otherwise be available to them. And I think not only are they on the Shark River Reef, for instance, but they were everywhere. They were on every, so we put out 40 mountains that are 70 feet high for them to occupy, in addition to any natural rock bottom, any boulder field, a shopping cart that's in the middle of nowhere that they were on. Like they're everywhere, but we're providing them a piece of structure intentionally to occupy. So yeah. And I'm just the conduit to getting it on the bottom. It's guys like you and your viewers and clubs that provide the monetary donation to getting this stuff acquired and onto the bottom. And without those folks and you guys, it wouldn't happen. I would just be, staring at a computer screen all day.
Yeah, and you know what? Even I didn't understand to the extent of the importance of, you hear about a program like this and you kind of, I guess, just assume it's at least partially funded by taxes or something along those lines. And it's not.
Yeah.
And, hopefully this helps a little bit more people understand and know about it and realize how important it is.
Talk to your legislator. We could use $1 million budget a year. Seriously.
I believe you.
Yeah, we could. I mean, we need a maintenance program, something that we can plan deployments instead of it being, I feel like a fireman, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, hey, I got a vessel. Can you come look at it? It's a little too haphazard. If we had a maintenance program that was funded through tax dollars, which they come in, they're used for other things, right? But
yeah,
it would make a big difference. It would just be a sustainable maintenance project that would always occur, and then all that other stuff would be gravy.
All right. Well, we will try to get you $1 million if we can. We promise to have you off by 8 o'clock. We're gonna. Right. Peter, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, good luck tuna fishing.
Thanks, you too, Chris. I'll catch you guys later.
All right, man. Take care.
Okay, so next week there will not be a normal podcast episode. Me and Chris are going fishing on the Fishmonger Monday on Labor Day, and we're going to try to go live from the Fishmonger. So if that works, you're going to get a live episode next week from the Monger.
I would say worst case scenario, though, we could put together a nice video, and we'll try to talk to Jerry while he's driving out or whatnot. Because I know when we first started this thing, he did want to come on and do a podcast episode, and we were real excited about that. And then we're still not totally sure what happened, but he disappeared that night and didn't reappear for like a week. But we never got to do that episode, and obviously he's really busy. And he kind of half joking said, "Let's just do the podcast on the boat, like live. Just do it while we're fishing." And I think that's what we're gonna just try to do.
We're gonna attempt it. We're gonna try.
See what happens. I'm not gonna let it interfere with my fishing, though. It's gonna have to be like while we're driving out to the spot or something.
Yeah. Or at the dock or the bar after the trip. So at some point Monday, you'll see us live somewhere from Jerry Pastorino at some point. And that will be the episode for next week. But we are back for good now. You no longer have to deal with Max or Kevin. We will be back next week. Chris, say goodbye. That's it.
Peace out and keep suffering for those fish.
Suffer for fish.